Hello everyone, I'm Dan Philgreen, and this is Shell Point Today for the weekend of August 30th, 31st, and September 1st. On today's show, Sheriff Mike Scott tells us why it's so important to properly dispose of old medications. But first, it's the final business day of the month, which means your new Shell Point Life magazine will be hitting your mailboxes this afternoon. You have the whole weekend to enjoy this issue, which is devoted to the animals of Shell Point, how we take care of them, and how they take care of us. It's also full of activities that you can sign up for the month of September. But do take note, sign-up day for September will actually start Tuesday at 8:15 in the morning. Now, why Tuesday? Because Monday is Labor Day, and all Shell Point offices will be closed that day, including the medical center and the pharmacy. Everything will reopen for normal business on Tuesday. There is one event on Monday. The Crystal Room is hosting a special Labor Day luncheon with your favorite American picnic items: hamburgers, hot dogs, and all the fixins. They'll also have entertainment from the Live Wires. The Crystal Room's Labor Day picnic happens Monday from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Now, even though the pharmacy is closed on Monday, they asked us to tell you about an issue that they deal with all the time: what to do with old or expired medications. Why is this an important issue? Old and unused medications not only pose a safety and environmental hazard, but if people visit your apartment, those drugs could fall into the wrong hands. Sheriff Mike Scott explains more, and afterwards, we'll tell you about the best way to dispose of these medications.
Hi, I'm Lee County Sheriff Mike Scott. Recently we completed an operation called Operation Medicine Cabinet, which simply was encouraging our citizens here in Lee County to take an inventory of their medicine cabinets and their shelves and clean out unused or unwanted prescriptions. Many times people will accumulate medications or not completely finish the bottle that they had and just leave it on the shelf. In one case, we found a medicine that was from 1971. The purpose of communicating this to you is twofold. One, we would never want someone to inadvertently take the wrong medicine, and if you limit the number of medicines that you have on hand, that reduces your chances. Perhaps more importantly is this: we have found instances where young people, even grandchildren, will come in, or their friends, and go to the medicine cabinet and take a few pills. We hope that's not the situation with you, and certainly we want to discourage that from happening. So if you have unused medications that you'd like to dispose of, you can contact the Lee County Sheriff's Office at 477-1000. We'll be happy to come out, take those medications from you, and make sure that they're properly disposed. I'm Lee County Sheriff Mike Scott, and that's your safety tip for today.
So, here's the big question: how do I safely dispose of old or unused medications? The best way is to visit the Lee County Sheriff's Office on Pine Ridge Road in Gladiolus, next to where you get your driver's license. There, they have a prescription drug deposit box, which you can use 24 hours a day. Just make sure whatever medications you have are sealed in a Ziploc bag and that you've crossed out your name on the pill bottles. Then just drop them off and they will be disposed of safely. If you use syringes regularly, they can't accept those at this box, but they have information available on where you can drop off syringes and other sharp items. Now, a few questions. Can I just drop them off at the Shell Point Pharmacy? Well, no. Our pharmacy is well equipped to dispense drugs, but we don't have the proper facilities to dispose of them. Question 2. Can I go around to all my neighbors and collect their medications? Again, no. I know you're trying to save a trip, but the liability issues are enormous. Everyone needs to be responsible for their own meds. If you have questions about anything related to your medications, call the Shell Point Pharmacy at 454-2234. Now, coming up, we are replaying the best stories of the week from Shell Point TV. But before we do that, let's cover all of the weekend's happenings, menus, and church news.
Welcome to the Happenings segment of Shell Point TV. I'm Suzanne Zavada, and I'm here to go over everything happening this weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. But before we do that, remember to check your mailboxes today because the Shell Point Life will be coming to your mailboxes this afternoon. Now let's go on to Friday morning at 8:15 with a stamp ministry meeting in the stamp room on the island. At 8:30, we have our beach day trip leaving. Core pickups will begin at 8:30 on the island, 8:40 at the Woodlands, and 8:50 at Eagles Preserve. Sign up is required. Then from 8:30 to 11:30, the marketplace will be in the administration courtyard on the island. At 9 o'clock, we have the Round Robin men's doubles tennis group out at the tennis courts at the Woodlands. At 10 o'clock, canasta will be played in the game room at the Woodlands. 10:15 is the time for the Inquiring Minds group to meet in the Osprey room on the island. At 12:30, we have mixed progressive bridge being played in the game room at the Woodlands. 1:15 is the time for table tennis in the Tarpon room on the island, and it's also the time for the quilters to meet in the Osprey room on the island. At 1:30, the Vespers will be in the community room of the Arbor. 2 o'clock is the time for euchre in the Sable room at the Woodlands. And at 2:45, the Vespers will be meeting in the community room of King's Crown. Our last Friday activity is 6:45 game night in the Resident Activity Center on the island. Moving on to Saturday, we'll start that day off at 8 o'clock with the Round Robin men's doubles tennis group meeting out at the tennis courts at the Woodlands. 9:45, duplicate bridge will be played in the Manatee room on the island. At 10:15, the Model Yacht Sailing Club will be out at the Commons Lake at the Woodlands. At 1 o'clock, chess will be played in the Library Lounge on the island. And at 1:15, table tennis will take place in the Tarpon room on the island, and the table will be there all weekend unless otherwise noted. At 3:15, we have basic line dancing in the Health Club on the island. And at 6:30, we have duplicate bridge in the Manatee room on the island. Going on to Sunday, we'll start the day off at 9 o'clock with the Christian Life Studies group meeting in the game room of the Woodlands, and the group will also meet at 9:15 at the Village Church on the island. And at 10:15, we have morning worship in the Village Church on the island. It'll also broadcast live on Shell Point TV, Channel 12. At 2 o'clock, the Mixed Golf League will be at the Shell Point Golf Club. And at 6:15, we have the evening service in the Village Church on the island. That wraps it up for this weekend, and I do want to give one reminder that all the administration offices will be closed on Monday, September 2nd for Labor Day, which means sign-up day will be on Tuesday, September 3rd. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you back here tomorrow.
Menus for your weekend. In the Crystal Room, the Crystal Platter on Friday is battered haddock with fries and sweet and sour cabbage. The dinner special is the seafood buffet for $14.95, and the soup of the day is lobster bisque. In the Island Cafe for lunch on Friday, enjoy a tuna melt with coleslaw for $6.95. The dinner special is Chef's Choice for $7.95. Dinner specials in the Palm Grill on Friday are lamb chops for $20.95 or baked cod for $15.95. On Saturday, the Crystal Room is closed. In the Island Cafe for lunch on Saturday, enjoy a meat lover's scramble with home fries for $6.95. For dinner, the special is Vulcan eggplant spaghetti, Norma style, for $7.95. Dinner specials in the Palm Grill on Saturday are prime rib for $18.95 or Italian seafood stew for $14.95. On Sunday, the Crystal Room features its Sunday brunch for $17.50. In the Island Cafe for lunch on Sunday, enjoy a bacon, egg, and cheese English muffin with fresh fruit for $6.95. The dinner special is Chef's Choice for $7.95. And the Palm Grill is closed on Sundays. All menus are available 24 hours a day at www.shellpoint.net.
Hi, welcome to Village Church Connections. I'm Andy Hawkins, the senior pastor of the Village Church, and it's my pleasure to have Fred Henry joining me today as we talk about the weekend services. And it's a special delight to have Fred here with us because, Fred, you and I go back a long way.
Quite a ways.
Absolutely.
We've enjoyed a lot of good times together.
We have, and so it's a special privilege while I'm away this weekend for you to fill the pulpit on Sunday mornings because I have great admiration and confidence in your ability to exposit the Scriptures and teach the people the Word of God. So I'm excited about that and certainly looking forward to it. Now this Sunday is a Sunday in which we're going to engage in the Lord's Supper together. And I understand that you'll be saying something about that. That's the essence of the message that you're going to be bringing has to do with the Lord's Supper. So tell us a little bit about
it. It is. And I think we'll call it just simply communion.
Yeah.
One word. That should be short, right?
Well, absolutely. I'm sure people will appreciate that.
The idea of communion itself, and it has a number of other words throughout the Scriptures that are either synonyms, describing the same term, or are related, but it's a rich, wonderful theme that runs the whole way through the Bible, whether it uses the particular word, communion, fellowship, participation, however you translate it. And it's a great theme, but it's something that obviously we were designed to experience, hopefully in as full a way as possible.
That's right.
And so I hope that in some ways the Bible message will encourage people to enter in even deeper and better into a life of communion with God, communion with each other. It's actually an idea that somewhat relates to what you've been speaking about. In fact, deeply relates to the whole idea of the church, the body of Christ, and the kind of communion and fellowship that we should experience together.
That's exactly right. Well, that's going to be a glorious morning. The choir's going to be singing, and then on Sunday evening we have Arnie Sharesky, who also has a background in international ministries as well. He'll be sharing from the Word, so it's going to be a rich Sunday all along, and so we're just looking forward to another glorious day in the Lord in the Village Church.
Thanks for the privilege, Andy.
My pleasure. So thank you for joining us here at Village Church Connections. We hope to see you, if not this Sunday, very, very soon. God bless you.
It's time now for our ShellPoint TV Week in Review. And we began this week talking about lomography, a new form of photography that actually uses old school film and cameras.
Hi, I'm here today with Herb Sklar of Eagles Preserve, and we're talking about yet another opportunity for art in the Academy of Lifelong Learning. Thanks for joining me, Herb.
Oh, you're welcome.
I always remember when you first moved to ShellPoint and came to see me and you were interested in developing some art classes for the Academy. You have developed so many art classes in assisted living and independent living. You've taught photography, you've taught color, you've taught painting. Through all of that, what has been your biggest challenge?
The biggest challenge is try to teach our age group, which I am one, to be creative. When we get older, we seem to go into this little box, and whether we're painters or photographers, we don't want to go out of the safety of this little box, and that's been the hardest thing to do. I've taught people to draw, I've taught people to paint, to take pictures, and hopefully better, but I have never found a way to teach them to become more creative. Until one day, my son was showing me an app on my iPad, and he needed some video. So he downloaded a free podcast, and he was showing me about the app. And what he downloaded was Photography 101, and it was a thing on lomography. And somehow I lost interest in what he was showing me. But this thing on lomography, I must have watched 3 or 4 times. I said, oh my gosh, that is it. That is a way to teach people how to be creative. And I got very excited over that. And I started taking pictures. I bought a special camera. I started exploring the internet. And I've spent the last 3 months exploring lomography. And I think it's turning out to everything I was hoping it would be. So let me tell you a little bit, what is lomography? Sure. Okay. Well, about 20 years ago, a bunch of high school kids found this Russian camera. It was called a Lomo Kapot automatic. It was a cheap plastic little camera. And they started taking pictures with film, And it caught on, and all of a sudden, a whole community developed on the internet where there's over 1 million people who are taking pictures with these inexpensive toy plastic cameras and posting them on the internet. And they're very different with the images that you see.
Now, these were young people.
These were young people.
So it was just natural for them to try some new...
Yes, I guess it was more natural for them than for us, sure. but it has certainly developed, and where every age group is doing it, and it's very exciting. What's going to happen is it's going to stretch your imagination. It's going to make you see more and become creative and become a better artist or a photographer. At any level that you are now, this will increase it. So when you do the lomography photography with me and then go back to your digital camera or back to your painting, hopefully you'll do it differently. You'll look at it differently, and you'll push it a little different. And so I think it's really exciting. And we're going to start off with a great little camera. Well, I don't know if I'd call it great. An interesting camera. It's very limited, folks, on what it can do. It has a couple of settings here for close-up or mountains or whatever, and the instructions say don't pay any attention to them. They're not going to work anyway. So, and so basically, you have a shutter. Okay, and you can keep it on time, which means you can keep your finger on the shutter and it'll stay open, which means we can do night photography. And this particular model is like a sort of an imitation of the old roller. You look down into it. However, for those who find that difficult, they can turn it into a sports thing. And it's got a flash, and the flash shoots red, yellow. So the whole thing here is, what are you going to do with this camera? Because this camera isn't going to take you too far. It's what your imagination is. And hopefully from the group, we'll all find out different things that people did. So if you're the type of person who wants to discover and invent and be more creative, this will take you there. And while we're working with this camera, there are other cameras that do interesting things. And I've bought a few of them, and people, when we get going, I will loan them to them to try out, okay? This is one that you're going to say to me, gee, I didn't know it existed. This camera always existed. You know what this camera is?
Polaroid.
You got it. You got it. A little Polaroid camera. And you can do all kind of incredible creative things with that. This is called a Sprocket rocket, and it basically is a panorama. It shoots to something about this wide, 35 millimeter, like that, and it's a panorama. So, but what it does, it actually includes the sprockets from the film. This is film, by the way. Okay.
For those of us who remember.
Right, and you see the sprockets. It makes for some really interesting stuff. And then the last camera I have here, this is called a fisheye. A fisheye is like a 360-degree picture, and you got to be careful when you use this camera. You have to kind of lean away from the camera because you'll photograph your feed. You know? So there's all kind of interesting cameras and interesting things, which we'll get into a little bit. But after you take this class, you're not going to be abandoned, because what will happen, you get to keep the camera.
Right.
Okay. I'm going to start a lomography group, and we'll meet once a month, and we'll keep the interest going.
Now the details, I want to share a few details, because it was a challenge for us to write this course description. We know that people are going to want to have this camera because that's the whole purpose of the course. So they'll be paying for the camera and the first 3 rolls of film. We have no idea how many rolls people will want to take after that. But in that amount of the amount of time that we're going to have the class, every Wednesday, September 11th through October 16th, you'll get started and get comfortable with the camera.
Right. The first week, we're just going to talk about the camera and how to load the film and what it could do and what it can't do.
Right.
The second week, I'm going to do a big PowerPoint on other images and what lomography really is, and we'll show different kind of things. And then we'll have a field trip around Shell Point the third time. And hopefully, the most important part of this is the feedback from when you get your pictures. So let me say at this point, there are a lot of sources for this process. We're not going to sit there with chemicals.
Right. We're going to send it out.
We're going to send it out, and you can get it back with prints, or you can get it back on a CD. So for those who have the ability to do their own printing or wanted, you can take it and you could retouch it and do other things with it and print it out. You know, so you could do a lot with it. And I have a lot of resources for that. And as far as the 3 rolls of film are concerned, there's plenty of film available. And I'll show you where to get it. So for those who want to shoot more than 3, you can do that.
Yeah. So they get the experience of doing all this with like-minded people who are...
Oh, I'm hoping there are going to be people that are going to give me a lot of great ideas. I'm kind of counting on that.
I think there will be. And we can only take 20 people. I mean, we want to keep this a manageable group. So we're encouraging everyone to read the description and the Academy brochure and sign up as soon as you can, because if you're interested in being in this pilot group for lomography starting at Shell Point, this is your opportunity with Herb Sklar.
On Tuesday, Dr. Christopher Dawson will join us to discuss sciatica, or its more official name, radiculopathy.
We have a Health Connection program coming up on Tuesday, September 3rd in the Oak Room at 2 p.m. It is Aunt Sue's sciatica is today's radiculopathy. Doing this presentation, coming back to Shell Point again, is Dr. Dawson. We are glad to have you back. The last time it was standing room only to hear everything you have to say, so we're expecting the same again this time, and you have an interesting topic. But before we get to that, let's hear about you. Tell us about you and your practice a little bit.
I'm Christopher Dawson, and I work at Orthopedic Specialists of Southwest Florida, and we're located on 41, right across from Lee Memorial Hospital.
Right, okay. So it is downtown, but you all have a great practice down there. And this time when you come, you're going to talk about sciatica, and that came because people, when you've come and talked before, always have questions about that. And it's a bad thing, but not so bad. It's treatable, right?
It is treatable. It's very common. Sciatica, invariably, almost all patients or people have either experienced this problem themselves or have known of a loved one or friend or neighbor who has had sciatica. And most of us understand sciatica as pain in the leg, shooting down the leg.
Yes.
And that's the essence of sciatica, so that explains the title. Aunt Sue's sciatica is today's radiculopathy. The medical term for sciatica is this long, crazy word called radiculopathy. But I'll focus on the word sciatica for the talk.
Good. Is there a reason people get sciatica?
Yes, sciatica is caused by irritation of the spinal nerve root that exits the spine, and the most common cause for that irritation is a disc herniation.
Okay, all right, which I'm sure can happen for a number of reasons, either overactive or not active enough, probably.
Sometimes the condition is a slowly progressive problem. Other times patients describe an acute onset of pain that shoots down the leg, commonly with lifting maneuvers, lifting, twisting, turning.
It's that split second that it happens. Now, you don't always have to go into operation. There's a lot of steps you can take to help relieve that pain. What are a few of those? That
is true. The vast majority of these patients are treated non-operatively, beginning with physical therapy and also lumbar traction, or if the problem is in the neck, cervical traction.
Okay.
The whole theory behind traction is to decompress or distract any forces on that irritated nerve root so that the nerve root can calm down, inflammation can settle down, and thereby the pain symptoms will decrease and eventually go away entirely.
Well, you're going to cover a lot about the history of this, the findings, radiological findings, and the advanced treatment. And so I think you're going to take sciatica and kind of take the scariness away.
Absolutely.
Right? Really, because knowledge is power.
Yes, and this condition is definitely very much treatable in conservative fashion. Everything from, as I mentioned, physical therapy, lumbar traction or cervical traction. Aquatic therapy is outstanding. And even injection therapy, where the nerve root is around the nerve root is bathed with an anti-inflammatory steroid medication to again calm down that irritated nerve root. That's obviously more interventional and aggressive, right. And we have other more conservative measures, but that's a very effective intervention as well.
Well, Dr. Dawson, thank you for being out here and coming out on September 3rd to educate our residents about sciatica, something that you can come and find out information about. You don't have to be in pain due to sciatica. You can sign up at either of the service desk. Again, it's on September 3rd, which is a Tuesday at 2 p.m. in the Oak Room. I'm Mary Franklin, along with Dr. Dawson. Make it a happy and healthy day.
The Crystal Room is now open, and they've added a new special on Tuesday nights, Pan Fresh Night.
Hi everybody, it's Jared Pike, and we're here in the Crystal Room, but there's no people, there's no tablecloths, there's no food. That's because we're under renovation right now, but the renovations are almost complete. And here to tell me all about what the Crystal Room has prepared for next season is Greg Pindara. Greg, this is an exciting time.
Yes, it is. This is where we make all of our changes to make it a new year.
Okay, so let's talk about the changes. First of all, there's work going on back here. What's going on back here?
Well, we're getting prepared for a new night. You know, we've decided that Tuesday night stir fry had fallen off, so we're putting a new buffet on Tuesday nights.
Okay, let's talk about the new Tuesday night buffet. You call it Pan Fresh, is that right?
Crystal's Pan Fresh, do it your way buffet.
Here, we got the flyer right here, folks. Check it out. All right, so what does this include? Pan Fresh, tell us all about it.
Well, Pan Fresh is we're going to be sauteing different types of meats. We'll be doing a strip loin of beef, a chicken breast, a pork tenderloin, a turkey cutlet, fillet of fish, and shrimp. Now, all of these will not be on the same night. These are what our rotation will be. So, I know the first night, this coming Tuesday night, we're featuring Steak Diane, so they'll be sauteing beef medallions. And you get the opportunity to pick what kind of sauce. Like with the beef, you can have Steak Diane, you can have Bordelaise, you can have Bernaise. You'll be able to pick if you want mushrooms with the steak, if you want onions, peppers. You'll get your choice as they're preparing it. So they're preparing it right in front of you like we have with the stir fry and the pasta night.
So you have lots of options, folks. And you were telling me about the cookers that are actually going to be making these. Tell me about those.
Yeah, they're magnetic induction ranges, which means there's actually no heat transferred, but there's a magnetic heat system between the pan and the range that sort of heats instantly, and this will help us with the sauteing because we can put a little bit of oil in the pan, and it'll bring right up the temperature so we can get the meat in and out of the pan fast enough and on your plate. And that's what they're doing behind me right now. It takes a tremendous amount of electricity to run these ranges, so they're installing all new electrical.
This magic show is going to happen on Tuesday nights, right?
Tuesday night.
So we have this, every week it's a different kind of meat that's being sauteed.
Correct.
But if you're not a fan of, say, shrimp or Steak Diane or whatever, you have other options available on Tuesday nights.
Yes, there are going to be 2 other entrees that will be available, plus your starches and your vegetables. And again, this also comes with soup and salad, and we also have some mini desserts out there to sort of finish off your meal that comes with the buffet for $11.95.
Okay, so we got Pan Fresh on Tuesday nights. It's sauteed meat with sauces and vegetables and dessert, $11.95. You really got to give this a try, folks. This is a new thing specifically for this season. Now, there's other new things going on in the Crystal Room, a new menu.
Yeah, we actually put together a very exciting new a la carte menu that will start on Monday. There are new items on there. There is a very large Quest meals on there. They all meet the nutritional expectations for a healthy lifestyle, and that is going to be very exciting to see how many people really come in and eat healthy.
Okay, so if you're on Life Quest and part of your Life Quest is to eat healthier, the Crystal Room is helping you do that in a major way. So, are you excited for this season, Greg?
Yes, I am. I can't wait. Everybody needs to come in and see the Crystal Room and look at the new menu. We actually expanded a lot of things. You can actually get a chicken burger or a vegetable burger or a regular hamburger and build it the way you want it with the toppings you want on it. So that's one of the items we have on the new menu.
It's fantastic. So, Crystal Room is now open once again after their summer hiatus. We recommend you go down and see it. Again, Tuesday nights, Pan Fresh. Only how much?
$11.95.
$11.95 for all that magic. And we'll be coming to you throughout the year to advertise other specials as they become available. So, for Greg Pindara, this is Jared Pike. Back to you in the studio.
Jack Hubbard is beginning a support group for people who use oxygen concentrators and similar equipment. Here's more about their next meeting on Thursday.
I'm here today with resident Jack Hubbard, and we are here to introduce to you a new support group that is getting ready to form. It will be the Breathe Easy Oxygen Support Group. We're going to be meeting in September, on September 5th at 2 p.m. in the Oak Room to discuss the future of this support group. Jack, thanks for being here today.
Well, thank you for inviting me, Mary.
Well, I remember one day we were out by the bus stop. You made a few phone calls to me and you said you had an idea for a future support group. Mm-hmm. And that is because you're dealing with having portable oxygen every day, right, and you're managing really well.
So far, so good.
So far, so good. You're going to all of the programs and events that you want to and so forth. But people come up to you and ask you all sorts of questions. Is that correct?
Correct. I've been on oxygen 10 years, and a lot of people ask me about my portable unit. Mm-hmm. Many have not seen it. And others have other questions, and one thing leads to another. And I've talked to probably 10 or 12 people here on Oxygen, and to find out there's a need for them to, and me too for that matter, to have more information.
Right.
And so consequently, here in the last few months I've been trying to get some more information, and I've just found a wealth of information, some of which I never heard of or aware of.
Right.
And I'm amazed how much I was able to accumulate.
And you have some of that information
I do
here.
have some of it right here.
And that can be a good kickoff and support to this group on the progression and educational.
Right.
Because this group really, you want to have an open conversation with each other on how to make things easier.
Yes.
And one of the topics we talked about was how do you exercise when you have COPD, because it's still very important.
It's very important, yes.
How do you eat? There's certain foods that can make it a little bit easier on you. And what to talk to your physician about, medications. There is just a lot of topics to be covered.
And there are a series of them in this pamphlet that I received from the COPD Foundation.
Right.
I never knew it existed. It's been in operation about 2 years, and they provide a wealth of information.
Right. And you have CDs here and even a magazine. It looks like almost a monthly magazine.
This is a monthly magazine put out by the COPD Foundation, and there's a wealth of information in all of this. And what we want to do is share with each other things that they have learned.
Right.
I'm not pretending to be an expert in this business. I'm like the rest of them, but by getting together as a group, we can share information and help each other to better cope with their COPD.
Right. And COPD, for those who are not aware, actually includes emphysema and chronic bronchitis.
Right.
And COPD is just the umbrella name.
Yes, it is.
And we actually have had an informational discussion with Yao Adu Sarkoti, our pharmacist here in the Health Connection. It was very well attended, and so I think that there's a lot of people out there wanting to gather information about COPD. The other interesting statistic that I never knew, but preparing for this meeting, I heard that it's the third leading cause of death in the United States.
It certainly is. Yes.
So this is a serious topic. A lot of people have it. But the good news is that COPD is often preventable and treatable.
Right.
So those of you who maybe have had it in your family or worried you're going to get it, come and you can learn prevention. And if you have it, let's learn from each other how to treat it. Right?
Yes.
Okay.
And I hope to have maybe some speakers out that can be helpful. Some of the pulmonologists, I'm sure would be happy to. I've already asked one. He was agreeable.
Right.
So
it does take a community to make you feel good about yourself, and even just to get in a room together and encourage each other.
Absolutely.
And to live life as the fullest of your capabilities.
That's right.
And you certainly do that. And you haven't let this get you down.
No.
So we all can learn from you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Well, we invite everyone who is concerned about COPD, either of having COPD in the future or have it right now, and would like to learn some more information and help get this support group started. The informational meeting will take place once again on September 5th at 2 p.m. in the Oak Room. Jack and I will both be there to help get this program kicked off. It's an important one, so please support this event. Have a wonderful and happy day.
Dr. Bruce Becker is a world-renowned expert on aquatic exercise. He shared some facts about how the water can have an amazing positive benefit on your overall health.
Hi, I'm Dawn Boren, Director of Resident Life, and it is my pleasure today to have with us Dr. Bruce Becker, whose father lives here at Shell Point, Erhard Becker. And Dr. Becker is not new to Shell Point. We have asked him to return to give us some highlights on his specialty. And Dr. Becker, tell us a little bit about your background.
My medical specialty is physical medicine and rehabilitation, and I have been in my specialty for many years, directing rehabilitation hospitals in Eugene, Oregon, in Detroit, Michigan, and directed what is currently the National Aquatics and Sports Medicine Institute at Washington State University, where we've done a lot of research in the health benefits of aquatic activity. So I've been fascinated by aquatics and the potential value in health for many decades, actually.
I think that's what the residents were most impressed with, was your expertise and knowledge, and some of the key points that you shared with the residents the last time you were here on the benefits of water exercise, even comparing it to running or walking versus water exercise. So tell me a little bit about what are the benefits of water exercise compared to land exercise?
Well, the beauty of water is that it is such a gentle environment. It has such forgiving qualities. I started working with Olympic athletes in the water and was astonished at how fast they recovered. And I couldn't figure out why this was being ignored in the contemporary health environment. And so I started researching what was going on, and then transferred that to my clinical population of traditional rehabilitation patients. Spinal cord injuries, stroke, traumatic brain injury, arthritis, low back pain, and again was amazed at how effective it is. The water is a gentle environment. It offloads the body in a very powerful way. And so damaged joints are without pressure, and you can move those joints. I suspect that there are people within the Shell Point environment who might have arthritis. I would think there might be a couple now and then, and the water is such a great environment for that. It's great for folks with low back pain. It's great for folks with all kinds of musculoskeletal problems, and of course with 80% of the national population at some point or other having low back pain, it's a great environment for that.
Dr. Becker, tell us a couple amazing points about water and what it does to the body.
Well, I talked a little bit about the circulation effect, and I think that that's an extremely important one to know. Simply getting into the water and standing in the water at chest depth increases the efficiency of the heart. The heart has two ways to pump more blood. It can increase pulse rate, or it can push more blood per stroke. And it turns out that pushing more blood per stroke is far more efficient from a heart standpoint. Increasing depth of water beyond at the chest level increases the stroke output by about 30%, which is effectively the same increase that you get at the beginning of aerobic exercise. So you're not exercising, you're just standing in water, and your heart is performing like it's being exercised, which stretches the muscles of the heart and makes it more efficient to push blood through the system. Another thing that happens, the pressure of the water on the chest makes the work of breathing harder. It increases the work of breathing by about 60%. So the simple act of being immersed at that is like having your chest muscles push weights. So you're strengthening the muscles of respiration. You're building lung capacity just by being in the water. It's very powerful from that standpoint. So these are all tremendous benefits that the water can do, and it doesn't take much more than getting into the water and moving.
I think in your presentation that was the most astounding information you shared on the internal and external benefits to our body. And I believe the same as you is that we're seeing an increase in water exercise and therapy becoming more and more used, both in the athletic conditioning and also in our population. I know the time that I have been here at Shell Point, we used to have 10 people in the class, and now we're maxing out at 28. People have a growing interest, and not only in rehab, but also in dealing with the chronic illnesses you mentioned. And one thing that I would like you to share with the residents is, what if somebody has a fear of water, or how do people get started? I believe some of our residents maybe haven't been in the water since they were children, or they don't know where to begin.
The beauty of using the pool is that you don't have to get into deep water to do it. Certainly there are things that you can do in deep water that you can't do in shallow water, but you don't have to get into deep water. You have to be able to stand in the water. You don't have to get your face wet. The fear of water is a real issue, and some people are really terrified of it, and that really oftentimes does require working with somebody to help you get through that process. For somebody that doesn't want to get involved in a class or is intimidated by how intense a class might be, getting in, being on your own is great, but like any exercise activity, it's helpful to have an exercise buddy, to have somebody that goes in with you, that will be with you through the process, and especially that's true if somebody has fear of water. In my rehab hospital, we put our post-hip and post-knee replacement patients in the pool on typically day 4 post-op. And we might have one patient that was going to the water, the other patient was on land. The patient that had come back from the pool would be talking with the patient on land and say, I had the best day in therapy today. It was spectacular. It felt so good to get in the pool, and I could move and it didn't hurt. And the patient that was on land said, oh God, it was a terrible day in therapy. I just hate it. Hurt so much. And so the surgeons would come around to do their rounds in the morning, and the surgeons that didn't want their patients in the water would come out and say, Dr. Becker, I want my patient in a different room. I don't want my patient talking to the person that's in the water. And so we had to separate the patients so that they were in different places, because the water patients use less medication, they move faster, they felt better about how they were, and they were more functional when they left the hospital. So there's no question in my mind that the water really works in that kind of a patient population. But it does help to have a personal trainer actually walking you through what you need to do. Talked with therapists across the globe and said, what do you notice when your groups get together? Well, the first thing you notice is they're talking and laughing.
Absolutely.
When you go to a gym class, yoga class, you don't hear that same kind of banter, but you certainly do hear that kind of relaxed, childlike affect in folks in the water. And I think that's directly reflective of what's going on with the brain and that whole relaxation thing. So it's fun.
Yeah.
It's enjoyable. It feels good. You get out, you feel refreshed in a way that dry land exercise does not seem to do in the same way.
I feel that this is perfect timing, and we have been so thrilled to have you as part of this opportunity to send the message on how beneficial water exercise and therapy is to each and every one of our residents, and at any age.
Right.
At any age. And so I just want to thank you so very much for your time.
Our technical support staff has had quite the challenge recently, both with digital television and with internet service. Scott Moore gives us this update.
Hi, my name is Scott Moore. I'm the Vice President of Operations at Shell Point, and with me today is Peter Bird. He's the manager of our Technical Support Services Department. And he's had a lot of excitement lately. We're going to talk a little bit about the resident internet service and just clear up some confusion around that and hopefully shed some light on the future of that system if possible. But first, you had some excitement recently with the change to the Shell Point provided TV system.
We did indeed, Scott. As everyone out there is aware, we finally made the transition to an all digital system. That did come with some growing pains, and that did require about 30 staff members to scurry around all of Shell Point reprogramming TVs, the converter boxes that we offered, and TiVo units.
So when we're talking about TVs, we're talking a lot of TVs. We've got over 1,200 independent living units, and then we have 250 assisted living, and I'm imagining that you had to do some programming around skilled nursing.
We did, and we also have a fair amount of TVs in some public or common areas. The survey that we did before going to digital indicated there was about 2.4 TVs per apartment. So if you do the math, that comes out to about 5,000 TVs, I believe.
Oh my God.
5,000 to 6,000. So there's quite a few units out there. We started at about 10 o'clock at night. We finally finished and got the system up and turned on about 5 o'clock in the morning.
And the end result is about 100 digital audio and TV channels, with around 40 of them being HD.
That is correct.
And I've seen some of the TVs around Shell Point now with the new service, and it looks pretty good.
Yeah, it looks great. We had to make, and we may still continue to make, some fine adjustments out in some of the amplifiers in some various buildings, because the new digital signal is slightly different than the other signal. But that fine tuning has been done by now. So
okay, so it was a matter of days and not weeks and months.
Right.
Well, that's fantastic. The other thing I wanted to talk with you about while I had you here was the Shell Point Internet service, the proprietary Internet service that we provide for a fee at Shell Point. Can you enlighten us on some of the things that make the system go down?
Sure. Most common issue that we find that has a negative effect on the internet is what we call noise. It's RF noise or electrical noise. Recently, we were having an intermittent problem with noise in the system, and the problem with intermittency, as you can understand, is the problem has to be there for you to troubleshoot or track it down.
Like when you go to the mechanic with your car and you say it's making a noise, and he says, "What's the noise?" You say, well, it's not making it right now.
It took us, I believe, 2 or 3 days, but we finally tracked the noise down to an amplifier in the Cameo building. While those outages were going out, the good thing is it was only affecting the subscribers here on the island and not the Woodlands or Eagles Preserve or the Arbor.
The short of it is, when something goes wrong, you have to say, okay, what neighborhood is it in?
Right. It's like finding a needle in a haystack.
Yeah.
Literally.
You say, is it in the Eagles Preserve? Is it in the Woodlands? Is it on the island? Okay, it's on the island. Okay, now what building or group of buildings is it in? So right now we have a best effort system, and that, from my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, we have between 500 and 600 customers.
That is correct.
So we have the revenue stream and resources that one could build around that size of an internet business, if you will.
We do, and of course, since we're really small, 500 to 600 is typically small, so that revenue stream is also small. We're not like a Comcast that has, thousands and thousands of customers paying a much higher price and therefore giving a much higher revenue stream.
That said, we want the system to work absolutely all the time and not to break down, and we're doing everything we can to do that. We're going to be looking at our equipment. What could we do to make it better, the equipment we have? We're looking at some type of a system to track these things down so we're not sending people out on foot to try to find it. So over the next 6 months, we're going to weigh out everything there is to weigh out about the internet service and how we provide it and should we provide it and what's the cost and things like that, because in the end we want you to hit your computer button, have it come on and do what you want it to do in the speed you want it to do it. We hope this information was useful, and I thank you, Peter, for coming on the show today and helping us with this.
Thank you, Scott.
Well, have a great day, folks, and thank you for making Shell Point your home.
FindMark Bank shared some tips about whether it's safe to do your online banking over public Wi-Fi.
Hello, I'm Tiffany Williams, Managing Executive of FindMark National Bank and Trust on the island, with today's FindMark Minute. If you have a laptop, tablet, or smartphone with wireless connectivity, you can get complimentary internet access in all kinds of places, from the airport to coffee shops to your local library. And while this is a great convenience, there are some security concerns. So before you log on, here are ways to protect your privacy. First, don't make online purchases or access your bank account while using public Wi-Fi. If you don't want someone to intercept your banking information or credit card number, it's best to avoid connecting to those accounts. Next, double check network names. Thieves will sometimes set up fake Wi-Fi hotspots. If you access the fake network rather than the public network, you may be giving them access to your private information. Another tip, it's a good idea to turn Auto Connect off. Many smartphones have a setting that allows your device to automatically connect to any open Wi-Fi network. Check your phone settings to make sure this feature is turned off. And finally, look for a locked padlock in the address bar of your web browser when you're using public Wi-Fi. This means the information submitted to that particular site is encrypted, which provides an added layer of security while connected to public Wi-Fi. Nothing will protect you 100% from prying eyes, but if you follow these simple steps, your connection will be a lot safer. If you have any questions, you can always stop by FindMark on the island or give us a call at 461-5999. With today's FindMark Minute, I'm Tiffany Williams.
Charlie Forbes is a security officer who commutes to Shell Point in his favorite ride, a 1972 Volkswagen Beetle convertible.
Originally born in Yonkers, New York. Lived there till I was about 16 years old. Then moved to Baltimore, Maryland with my parents and lived there until just about 5 years ago. Moved down here to Sanibel. I had a newspaper delivery business for about 15 years. Then I bought a miniature golf course up in Baltimore County, Maryland, and operated that for about 12 years or so. We love the beach. When we lived in Maryland, we used to go to a place called Ocean City, Maryland, which is right on the beach, and we owned a place down there, and we'd actually planned on retiring down there, and then I decided that really it was a little too chilly up there during the winter. The first car that I ever bought for myself was a 65 Buick. I bought it when I was about 16 years old, and $125. Needed work constantly to keep it on the road, so I came to know cars pretty well with that car. And then shortly after that I bought my first Volkswagen and really fell in love with it because it was so easy to work on and easy to access and even easy to move if it didn't start by itself. My first VW was a 66 that I bought up in Cape Cod. Cruised that around for the whole summer, and it made it back down to Maryland, and that was about it for its lifespan. And shortly after that I bought this one. That was around November '76. I bought it secondhand from a woman down the street, and it was pretty ratted out at that point. It was only 4 years old, but it was a rust bucket, and it stayed that way for a while until I actually made a little money over the summer and slowly got parts for it and built it up. And over the years, it's been rebuilt 3 times. An air-cooled vehicle, they don't have a radiator. They don't have no water cooling system. It's directly from the air that's blowing through the car that you're cooling your engine. It's basically a lawnmower engine. It's basically a beefy lawnmower engine. So, you don't need a radiator in your lawnmower, and this is pretty much the same story. That's an 1835 cc engine. The original was 1500 cc. I used to have twin carburetors on it, dual carburetors, but when I made it into a daily driver a number of years ago, the dual carburetors are a little tough to keep tuned and, of course, a lot more expensive gas-wise. It used to have air conditioning. I yanked that out when I first bought it because all it did was slow me down. The car weighs about 1,480 pounds and it's about 120 horsepower. So if I get the chance to let it get up and go, I could get it. The speedometer only goes up to 100, but I can hit 100 in third gear. So I still got plenty of time to go. But of course around here with the Sanibel police and all, I don't get the chance to do that as often as I like. Down here the convertible's great. It's hot. The interior is dark and I have black seats, but they're cloth seats, so I don't have too many burns, no second degree burns anyway. But it's very comfortable. It doesn't have the original seats in it, so you're not sitting kind of up. It's very, very sporty. So
You don't buy a Volkswagen for the trunk space anyway.
No, but there's really a lot more than you can imagine. I've stuck bodies in there before, going to drive-in theaters when I was younger and stuff, sneaking people in. So it's an original Porsche color. It's called Iris Blue. It's when I first got it was yellow, and then it was the ghastly orange, Volkswagen orange color. In 1998 or so, I painted it this color for the first time, and I like the color. It's a nice color. It's different. You don't see too many that color. It has wheels on it called turtleback wheels. There's only about 300 sets of them ever made, strictly for Volkswagen of America dealerships, one to each dealership. And the wheels alone are probably worth upwards of $800 each. I keep it in the garage, but at least once a week I put a coat of wax on it. That's just German steel, and it shouldn't look that good after 35 or 40 years, but it still looks pretty good, and that's just because you take care of it. Same with the engine. You know, these cars, there's not much to them, but if you don't change the oil, they're not going to last. So I change the oil, you know, once every month, 6 weeks or so, and you know, it just runs like a charm. Oil bug. Yeah, when I first came down here, I just wanted some kind of license plate, a little different, and that was the first one I thought of. And when I went to the Lee County Tax Collector's office to see if I can get it, the woman told me, "Oh, no way. I'm sure that's gone." And she looked it up, and it wasn't gone. So I got the chance to buy it, and I've actually had 3 offers from people over on the island to buy the plate from me, because you know, it kind of works out nice, an aisle bug, but I think I'll keep it for a while. Everybody's owned a Volkswagen in their life, and if they haven't owned one, they've known somebody who owned one. So wherever you go, people approach you, and people are friendly, and they want to tell you their story, and they want to know your story, and it's a lot of fun. Volkswagen culture is actually a lot of fun. I go to a lot of shows over the year, and I've met a lot of people. I used to have upwards of 7 at a time. We have
7 cars?
Yeah, 7 Volkswagens. Because I used to do some restoration work on them for other guys, and for a couple of years there, I was buying them and restoring them to a point and reselling them between a bunch of us and their parents. One fella had a 4-car garage, so I had 3 of my cars in there at one time, and a lot of tools and stuff. But I've always had some kind of workspace to do my work in, even if I had to build a tent for myself. We had a 2003 Beetle.
Yeah, what do you think of the new Beetles?
We had a turbo, and it was one of the fastest cars I've ever driven. It was unbelievable how fast that thing was, and quite a pleasure to drive. Really comfy. Not for the person sitting in the back, but if you're up front, it's quite a nice car, actually. We have a SUV. We have a Nissan. What is it called? A Pathfinder. I don't even know. I hate driving the thing. It's way too big, and it's water cooled, and it's you know, it's got air conditioning. You know, we don't need any of that stuff, and it looks like every other vehicle on the road. So I enjoy the Volkswagens. Like I said, you know, you can't drive from here to Sanibel without getting at least a dozen or more waves and beeping horn and everything. So it's a lot of fun.
We're glad you joined us for today's show. Tune in next week for more stories and news from around your community. Until then, this is Shell Point Today for the weekend of August 30th, 31st, and September 1st. I'm Dan Philgreen, and from all of us here at Shell Point TV, we hope that you have a great weekend, and we'll see you here again on Monday.